Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. Today, if you're watching on screen, you can probably tell who our guest is, but I'm going to give him a brief introduction. We are welcoming in Ken Carman, the namesake of his own show on 92.3 The Fan. You can listen to that 6 to 10 a.m. With Anthony Lima. A contributor with Fox 8 in Cleveland, also a host and contributor for the Cleveland Browns Network. So a list of titles. Mr. Ken Carman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. So I didn't realize this until about 15 minutes ago. This is the same network that had the guys talking about the West Branch situation on it, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I've been watching I was watching those videos.
Oh yeah.
During it, and the guy. I mean, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it because I'm still not necessarily sure. But the one guy who kind of went nuts at the PTA meeting or the school board meeting. So we have that audio that we play. This is bizarre.
Well,
guys and all that stuff is ridiculous.
Luke and Isaac, they call themselves the MLO Bros. They host a show down here a couple days a week, so they'll get a kick out of that. They'll appreciate your input.
I got to tell both those guys I didn't think it was very nice what that guy said about their wives for crying out loud. I thought that was pretty damn ridiculous, but.
I love it. That's what it's all about down here. We try to bring out the fun issues, but also maybe cover some topics that the public needs to hear about. So it's good stuff. That's good stuff. So Ken, I mean, I try to listen to you guys when I can. I got an Alexa in my bathroom when I'm getting ready, in the morning, getting ready for work, and hear all you guys. You guys are, I would say, with all due respect to the other guys and at your station and the other stations around Cleveland, I think you and Lima are kind of the voice of Cleveland sports. I think that you guys have built your brand up and you got a really great thing going there at 92.3 The Fan. So if I can ask, what's your guys' favorite, outside of the normal main topics you're covering, what's your guys' favorite? Because you do a lot of little segments and stuff. What's your favorite segment you do on your guys' show?
Oh, Coming in Hot's my favorite. Just because people prepare for it, and sometimes they're really good, and sometimes they're terrible, and sometimes we get really good ones, and sometimes we get a run of terrible ones. But Coming in Hot's easily because it's usually callbacks from the show earlier in the week or something like that, and people like to do different impressions of it. So I enjoy it. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. At first, I thought it was going to be kind of crazy things that people had to say, and then it just kind of turned into its own little thing with the people. So that's probably my favorite one.
And that reminds me, when I was a little kid growing up, there was a guy named Les Levine up in Cleveland that he did these How Come Quickies, and that's exactly what that reminds me of. So tip of the hat to you guys. That's a really fun one. All right, Ken, I'm going to let you pick. I want to cover all three teams in Cleveland, the main teams. Okay. So I'm going to let you pick. Where do you want to start? Guardians, Browns, or Cavs?
Well, let's go Cavs.
Okay. All right. Let's start with the Cavs. So the Cavs have kept their core four in place so far this season. We've heard a lot of LeBron rumors. We've heard, maybe Garland's on the trade block, maybe Jared Allen's on the trade block. But what do you think of this team? The best team in the East last year get knocked out by a upstart Pacers team that went on a pretty crazy run. So what's your thoughts on the Cavs moving into 25-26? Should they keep it together, or should they, trade a few pieces, shake things up?
I don't know if it's a should. I think it's probably they have to.
Okay.
I think that because of the constraints of the second apron, I think they're probably going to have to keep that together. And I know that's a dangerous thing just because I think naturally they're supposed to try to get tougher, and I don't know exactly how that's supposed to go. So I think that for them, they got to figure out a way to try to make this thing work together as is. And I think that the way it works, and it's worked together to a certain degree, obviously. But I think that the underrated thing of this, and I don't want to make too big a deal about it and hang my hat on it or anything, but I think it's something that we need to watch, is with Darius Garland's injury at the beginning of the year, what the offense does, and if it runs off of Evan Mobley instead.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's going to be a key for Darius to understand and be a little bit more off ball. That Evan's going to need to be fed. Now, it's exactly what Donovan said, is where they're going to have to – Evan's going to have to call for it, and Evan's going to have to be more assertive with what he wants out of the offense. But by the time that Darius is able to come back, I think that there's going to be there has to be some sort of a reality of it where this has to push through Evan if it's going to push any further. I mean, he has to be the best player on the floor. Donovan is great, but Donovan, I don't think, has the size like Evan does to be able to be that dominant of a player. He's a great player, but he's not dominant. Evan has to be that guy. Now, I don't know if Evan's going to be able to. I think, they only have 2 more years together.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have ourselves a bit of an issue here where Donovan's going to be 31. He might go into ring chase mode. He may opt out. Of course, that's a lot of money to opt out of. So, he'll have to make his decision. They're going to try to make it as nice as they can to try to keep him. But, I mean, we'll see what happens in 2 years. Maybe everybody will want to go their separate ways, and it'll have to be busted up, and we'll focus our efforts towards Evan, or we'll focus our efforts towards rebuilding the roster all over again. But I think that for them, it's just going to have to come naturally with them. And I think that's a scary thing to say, where you've had the Pacers, you had Boston last year, but I thought that they tried to play up to their level last year against Boston, so I'm not really going to kill them for that. And then this last year against Indiana was a total disappointment. So, 2 of the last 3 years have been embarrassing, I would say, for them. And there's really nowhere else to go in terms of moving contracts around to bring in guys that are really going to help. And I think it's made us think some crazy things here as far as, trading Darius Garland for 35-year-olds, things like that, where I don't think 35-year-olds, guys who are in their upper 30s, not named LeBron James, I think that that's kind of made some people a little nervous about where this is going. And I think maybe we have focused too much on fit in terms of, hey, we still need to have the talent that's out there and
no doubt
have a chance to be able to get further in the postseason.
No doubt. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, one of the, regular season, one of the best offenses of all time, you do have 4 legit all-stars, maybe 2 legit superstars on your team. And, it's maybe keeping it together maybe isn't the worst thing if these guys can gel together over these next 2 years. But this year, it feels like such an important year for the direction of this franchise, whether it's, like you said, blow it up in 2 years and redo it, or just maybe retool some pieces. But yeah, I can see this going a lot of ways, but hopefully sticking it together is good.
I think this winter, depending on how things start, I think this winter we could see the very first, not in maybe it's before that. I mean, Donovan didn't get traded until September when they first traded for him. But I think maybe this winter is where we see the first movement of the core 4 of what they have. And I think probably the first person that would be the easiest one to move out of that would probably be Jared Allen. Now, what can they bring in for Jared Allen? I think it's all easier said than done, especially when you have the cap constraints that they have. But you have one guy who makes a reasonable salary to move. You have the other 3 guys that are basically maxed out. I think it's going to be very difficult to move on any of those guys because, we've said crazy things about some of the trades, but at the same time, I mean, you're paying so much more into the luxury tax now than what you did just a few years ago. And then there's also, okay, how many guys can you actually keep on the roster that are going to be worth it? So you go from a 10-man rotation during the regular season, maybe down to an 8-man rotation during the regular season. And I think that would affect Kenny Atkinson very much. So there's a needle that they have to thread. And I think that if there was any movement, I think it would probably be late in the game before the season starts, or mid-season trade deadline. And the biggest piece that would possibly be moved would be Jared.
Okay. Do you think the Cavs would be in their best interest? Now, last year was maybe an anomaly. They lost all 3 games at home to the Pacers. So does that 1 seed even matter? Or is it best to kind of try to keep your guys healthy, which they did this season, and it kind of just bad timing, bad luck in the playoffs. So do they go for that number 1 seed again, or just get through the regular season healthy and get to the playoffs?
Well, they had I think they were 0-5 against Indiana through the whole year. They lost the 2 regular season games at home. So it's a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup. Now it becomes easier, sad to say, because, Tyrese Halliburton's going to be out for the year. So you kind of put Indiana on a shelf and see what they're going to do coming up in 26, 27. That's in just a couple of years. So I think that the number 1 seed, I think that they do find home court important. I think that, if you get to a game 7 against a team that's of equal match to you, I think that it's important to get that game at home. But I also think in the grand scheme of things, I think we have to worry about the size of our players and where they're going to be at the end of the year. Sure. I think Donovan played a little bit gassed at the end of the year. And Donovan's still a guy who's only 6'3", and if you're putting that much on him, it's going to take that much out of him. So I still think they're trying to figure out exactly how to manage his minutes.
Okay.
And how to manage this basketball team with him. So I see them being they should be a top 4 seeded team next year, naturally. But I see them trying to be more in a preservation mode, because I think that Donovan has fought that as well. I think he's a competitive guy. I think he's fought having to be sat at times. I think that he takes the load management thing pretty serious. But at the same time, you've heard him at the end of the year, and I think he's understood a little bit too late about what he's supposed to be in sitting and being the guy that's there for them at the end of the season, rather than carry him through regular season games. I mean, the regular season just simply doesn't matter to them anymore. They have to get back to the postseason, figure out what works during the regular season, but get back to the postseason and make a run at this thing before it's too late.
No doubt. Well said. All right, let's go. Let's go to one of the 2 other teams. I'll give you your pick. What do you want to go? Guardians. All right, let's go Guards. All right, well, let's start with the President Trump tweet from yesterday. The Guardians, are you okay with the name? Now, we're going back 3 years ago. I don't want to get into woke and all that stuff, but you okay with the Guardians, or would you rather go back to the Cleveland Indians?
I've gotten used to the name.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made major investments in the signage. They've made major investments. I hate the logo. I think the logo is terrible. I wish they had a different logo, and I've been on
G with the flying baseball.
Yeah, I actually accidentally said in front of the guy who designed it once. I was like, "Well, I said what I said. I can't take it back now. I'm sorry." So, but it is what it is.
No doubt.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. That logo is just awful. If they would have made a better logo, I don't even think it would have been a point. But some people said they've gotten used to it. I won't wear anything with it on it. I just get the hat and I just move on. I will not have that logo on anything. And I think the players kind of show you. I think they have a hat that's available with that G, the polymorph wings logo, and the pitchers always pick the hats that they wear. And I don't think I've ever. I don't even know if they carry them. I don't even know if they carry him.
I agree.
So I think what the players think of that logo. That logo needs to go. But as far as the name, I've gotten used to the name.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in having fights again over the name, because if you go back, then what if you have to go back again? So I think that they're in the business. Pro sports are in the business of not making anybody upset. You look at what the NFL is. The NFL has stepped in it a couple times trying to not make a political statement and trying to be for everybody. And I think they'll just probably move forward and play football and baseball games over in Washington and here in Cleveland.
No doubt. Okay, good answer. All right, so the Guardians are 48-50 sitting here right now. This is a team that was in the ALCS last year against the New York Yankees. They're currently sitting 4.5 games back of the last wild card spot. I know from your tweeting that you are a big Stephen Kwan guy. Yeah. You want him re-signed. Make the point, because I have people in my ear on the other side. They're like, Stephen Kwan's never hit 300. He doesn't have an 800 OPS. He is a great defender, but he's playing a corner outfield position where guys should be hitting for power. Make the argument why the Guardians should re-sign Stephen Kwan instead of trade him.
Well, I think he could play center field, but he doesn't want to, apparently. Or maybe he can't play center field. I'm not sure. The batting average thing, it's very easy. I mean, you got 2 batters in that lineup you take serious.
Yep.
So if he had anything better around him at the bottom of that lineup to give him a better chance, I think he'd definitely be over 300. So, and plus, I think we're in this weird, it's this weird, like, we want to make arguments to kind of fit it where, I don't know, I've always heard about OPS. I've always heard about on-base percentage for a guy like him, for leadoff hitters. I'm sure it's not at the very top of the league.
Sure.
But when we're talking about batting average, it's like, well, hold on. How many guys actually care about batting average as much? They don't even show it on the scoreboard anymore.
Right.
It is important for a guy like him, but I'm thinking about Jose Ramirez's near future as well. I mean, Jose's 31, 32 years old. What are we doing? Are we building around this guy, or are we just going to dust off the seats and tell everybody to come to the ballpark to see Jose Ramirez? So they've been able to, and I can't look at them. No one knows what the books are, so these are all fictitious numbers.
Sure.
But you were able to save money because of Shane Bieber, because of his injury. You spent a little bit of money on Tanner Bybee. You got other pitchers that are coming up through it, and we're sitting there going, well, wait, when are we going to be able? We got to be able to pay boppers. Who are these boppers coming up through the system? They won't bring C.J. Kafis up. They won't bring Chase DeLauder up. It's almost like he conveniently gets injured for him, so they don't need to bring him up for that. So we're sitting there waiting to pay these guys who are supposed to be home run hitters. Where are they at? Where are they at? We got Laviolette, where he's basically the ultimate feast or famine type of prospect, and maybe he will go out there and hit 60 home runs in a season. Or maybe we'll never hear of him again after last weekend. So that whole, and by the way, you're not even paying that guy for another 5-6 years if you're even going to do that. So my argument is, where are we saving this money from? Now, I don't want to just go spend it in a silly way on Stephen Kwan, but if the Dodgers are interested in Stephen Kwan now, then the Dodgers are going to be probably interested in Stephen Kwan next year and the year after that. If you had to liquidate the asset, you can liquidate the asset. And the final thing that I keep getting brought up to me is that, well, he's a West Coast guy. He doesn't want to be here. We don't know he doesn't want to be here. Well, he didn't accept their first offer. They made him an offer last year. He didn't accept it. I go, he may not want to be here for less. Because it's good for Jose Ramirez doesn't mean it's good for Stephen Kwan. Well, we can't have anybody make more than Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez took the contract knowing that somebody was probably going to make more than him. That's what he wants. I mean, you want to protect the guy in the lineup as best you can. I got one guy who I can count on every single night other than Jose Ramirez in that lineup, and it's Steven. So if you don't pay Steven, or you're going to jettison Steven, and if you're going to do that, I mean, I'll pull my hair out if they do it by the end of next week. But if you're going to do that over the next couple of years, then maybe he really doesn't want to be here. But if somebody offers him in the same neighborhood of $20 million a season, well, then you have your answer right there. Because I've looked at the front office. I think the front office has done a solid job. I know there's a couple of guys who they've let go that have ended up being good players. That happens. That they went and they got Matt Boyd, and they basically got Matt Boyd's career back on track last year. Yeah. So there's good and there's bad. I look at the ownership, and I think that he runs a responsible business. I think he runs a responsible franchise. It's very hard to talk about Paul Dolan as opposed to the other owners, because I think Paul Dolan is a good guy. I think he's a good man from everything I gathered. I know Les Levine knew him, and I know that Terry Pluto knows him, and everything I can gather that he's a decent man and has a civic responsibility to keep the team in Cleveland and to see the team through all the changes with the stadium and making sure that the lease is there for a long time to come before he bows out. But we are also getting to a point here where if you simply can't afford to be in the sport, then you simply can't afford to be in the sport. I mean, you're looking at ownership. You're looking at ownership now where you have people who get involved in the sport, and now they're becoming multiple team owners across sports. You have the Kroenke family. You have the Haslams. You have David Blitzer, who I believe is a partner in multiple sports across multiple leagues. Josh Harris, owner. I mean, so you had this big club of millionaires/billionaires, and now that club is shrinking, and there's only so many guys that can afford that.
Right.
The biggest issue is I think they need to get themselves to a point where we're going to have a work stoppage. We talked to, what was it? Was it Tim Kirkchin? I believe it was Tim Kirkchin. there's never been more of a want for a salary cap by the ownership. Now, I don't know what they're going to do about a salary floor, because that's different. So we say the salary cap thing like it's going to save us. Well, I don't know what the Dodgers do and the Mets do to fit under that.
Right.
Spread this out over time where they can fit under this. So there's going to be a lot of things that are deferred, just like what happened with Shohei. But you're getting to a point here where you have to look at what's best for your organization, what's best for your league. And I mean, owners in general, because, when I have these fights with Lima, and Lima goes, well, that's a baseball problem. That's not a Dolan problem. I go, Dolan is an owner in professional baseball. That means it's a him problem.
Sure.
If he's one of the guys who vote, then he is part of the problem.
Yep.
So I can't just, well, it's baseball's fault. It's not Paul Dolan. No. That's a coverall. So I have to see what he's done with this organization, because as bad as I can be, as much as I can be critical of him, I do fear for a day of a different owner from a different city. Leases only extend so long. The stadium's in great shape. They've obviously done the upgrades to make it in even better shape starting, and it'll be all done by spring of next year. I think they've done a good job, again, being stewards of the community as best they can. Yep. So I worry about the future, but clearly this is a system that he participates in, Paul Dolan does, that is broken and needs to be fixed. Rob Manfred said it last week during the All-Star break, and I agreed with him, where you're on too many platforms right now. I mean, you have to go hunting for Guardians games over the weekend. I mean, when you have Roku, YouTube, MLB Network, Guardians TV, the whole deal. I mean, you're searching all over the place. A Tubi game, I think there was one.
Apple TV.
Apple TV, exactly. So you have this on so many platforms, because I think they're kind of trying things out to see where people may go, where they can kind of bottleneck this and sort of have the same type of deal of what the NBA's got. What I can compare it to the NFL, but it's you can't compare it because it's only a couple days a week and that type of stuff. But trying to figure out, okay, how do we do it with our local broadcasts, and how do we get the most out of it for our national broadcasts?
Sure.
And if you look at the moves that they've made, they could sit there and they could say, as baseball, and I know I'm getting way off the topic here, but they could sit there and talk about it as baseball, where they didn't realize the Diamond Sports Group thing was going to blow up. They could talk about all that they want. But if you look at some of the changes throughout the game, I think that some of these changes throughout the game has also made it more, I think, to make it more provocative for other networks to get involved. I mean, ESPN, while they're bowing out, they're still technically back into negotiations for like a Sunday Night Baseball package and things like that. So even they don't want to give it up, because it's become a better product to sell. Yeah. You have a start, and basically you can see a finish, and there's movement, and I think the guys are becoming more stars. There is momentum for Major League Baseball going in the right direction. Now, a work stoppage would obviously hurt that momentum, but if you're able to accomplish these goals to make it better for the general fan, hardcore baseball fans will always be there, and they roll their eyes as hard as they can when I say these things, and I understand that. But for the general fan, it makes it easier to take in. It makes it easier to follow along. It makes it easier to stay involved in the action instead of starting to look at the phone and going somewhere else with it. And I think that makes it a more marketable product for any one of the major networks that might be vying for it, like what we've just mentioned, or Peacock, or whoever it might be. So, and he is a part of that no matter what. So I know that that's a long answer, but there's just so many tentacles that come out of the Stephen Gunn conversation. That's not just about Stephen. Yeah, it's about how serious does your owner take it? Because I think he's responsible and he wants to win. I think he is happy enough to win by luck of the draw if they're able to make it happen. Because you can't tell me, well, if you get to the postseason, anything can happen. Okay, well, 3 other teams were in major markets last year, and we were the 4th in the AL and NLCS. They didn't just do that by accident,
right?
No. So there is something where you have to put forward to get the very most out of your product, because fans want to win now more than ever. It's a rings culture situation. They want to win now more than they ever have. So you're going to have to put out a little bit if you're Paul Dolan.
No doubt. That's a great way of basically saying MLB needs to even the playing field too, but Paul Dolan does need to step up. But you got to give him credit too. And like you said, he's probably the most he's probably the owner, or the organization, I should say, as a whole, is the most stable in all of Cleveland sports. It's you got Gilbert and you have the Haslams that spend the most money, but their franchises have been mostly down more than up, outside of the LeBron years.
And the defenders, they get so upset, and I go, well, I'm not your typical person who goes after them. Going after the Guardians. I have a great deal of respect for how they run their business and how they run their organization. They've been fine, but when you get that close and you tear away from it, and when I talked to Zach Meisel of The Athletic on our show, where I asked him about the television deal, he goes, "Nah, that's not really an excuse." Well, then I have to start wondering, because I was more than willing to make that excuse at the beginning of the year. It happened with the Twins 2 years ago, with their television deal coming off their AL Central championship. It's happening with us here, but I've been told that it's not all what it meets. It's not all what it meets the eye, I guess.
Okay.
And so from that, I have to figure out why doesn't it. But if I don't know, if there's no salary cap, then I don't know what they're able to spend on these guys.
Sure. All right, Ken. Let's go ahead and move on to the Browns now. I mean, they're reporting to training camp here in a few days. July 25th, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, we all know in football, it all comes down to the quarterback. So the Browns have 4 on their roster right now, with Flacco, Pickett, and then the 2 rookies, Gabriel and Sanders. How many of those guys make it to the opening day roster, and which one it takes the first snap?
I think all 4.
You do?
I do. I think all 4. I think it's a weird year, man. It's a
weird
year.
Yep.
We could talk about trades. Whose quarterback gets hurt, and they say we have to have Kenny Pickett.
Right.
Same thing with Joe. So I think that Joe should really get the first snap of the season and be the starting quarterback. I think Kenny has done as best as he could, from what I've heard, to get the respect of the locker room.
Sure.
But I also, Joe's a guy that they trust, and there are veterans on that team, because they're trying to do 2 things at once here. They don't want the fans to be mad at them for losing.
Yep.
They want to win enough to keep their jobs, but they also probably miss their window. Wyatt's maybe at the end of his time here. David may be at the end of his time here. Joel Bitonio may be at the end of his time in the NFL.
Yeah.
Denzel's coming up on a contract extension at some point. What are you going to do there? I know you've just signed Miles. Well, Miles is a Hall of Famer. The other guys, are either just really good players or maybe borderline if best. So I think that they're looking at it now, where they started this window up in 2016. They had themselves a really good quarterback. That quarterback, if he would have matured here, he would have been a perfect quarterback for us, but he didn't.
Yep.
And he's even admitted that. And so now they're looking at it, trying to pay off this huge long-term investment. And I just don't think they're going to really be able to, unless they find Dylan Gabriel or Shador or someone like that can be that next guy. I don't think it's going to be Kenny. But maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe he'll show me different. I'm not sure. But I think that because of that, they're just going to keep everybody. I think they're going to go with 4 guys. I think they're going to go with 4 guys.
I like that. That's an interesting take. And really, this is a team that's not expected to do much this year. This is sort of a figure out what you got in 25 and go for it in 26, or at least get back to competing in 26. Let me ask you 2 follow-up questions to that then. One, does Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry make it through the year with their jobs?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay.
Yes, both of them, yes. I think they both make it to the end. I think it's Kevin was hired first. So you could see a scenario where Andrew gets let go and Kevin keeps his job. Now I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I mean, you could see any scenario really. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but Kevin was hired first. That's why when they say the term thought partner, and people go like, no, they're on the same page. For better or for worse, they're definitely going to be on the same page with each other.
Sure.
but I think they'll both stay throughout the end of the season.
Okay.
I think they really want to work with these guys too. I think that Jimmy has them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Justin.
No.
I think that Jimmy and the ownership group, I think they care very much about what the rest of the NFL is saying about these guys. And I think for the fans, I think for a regular Browns fan, you're living in a bizarro world because there are pundits and insiders who line up every day to tell you how great your head coach is and how much of a mistake it would be to let him go. And the same thing with Andrew Berry. And I think for a lot of fans, they go, we won 3 games last year. And I think they're upset about that because, there has to be results at the end of the day that you have to answer for, good or bad. And I think that fans get frustrated by that, but you have all these people lining up telling you how good your front office and your head coach is. It just, you paid the wrong guy, you paid the wrong quarterback, it happens. It's like, well, yeah, guys get let go for that.
Exactly. Well, and the Browns have been, a lot of fans complain for so many years, continuity. Look at the Steelers. They keep, they've had 3 head coaches in the last 50 years. And it's like, well, the Browns are trying to do that. So it's like, we might not want to push the wrong guys out the door before they succeed. So I know they've, Stefanski's had 2 really good years and 3 down years. So, but he's also been handed an interesting situation, to say the least.
I think that they are terrified. And you know what? I would be too. With everybody who's willing to line up and say how great Kevin is. And it's always weird to talk about, hold on. Hey, shut up over there. Judas Priest, he's playing video games. Hey. I'm doing a show here. You want to quiet down? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell him 5 more minutes.
So, I got to take him to the store after this. And now he's yelling during his video game. So, what was I saying? I think they are afraid that you're going to get to a point where somebody is going to take him and have the success you should have had with him.
Yep.
I think it's kind of, it's, you can't say they haven't tried to learn from their mistakes. I think the Baker thing, I think that plays into it. The success he's having down at Tampa Bay, where he's making the most of the skills that he has. God bless him. I think that bothers them. I think that they don't want to let go of another guy and then have Kevin, because everybody goes, well, he'll have a high profile coordinator job right out of it, and then he'll be a head coach again. And I just don't think they want to have that situation play out for them. So they're going to try to squeeze every last bit and roll with him and see how this one works out. Because he just, as amazing as it is, as amazing as it feels, he's just gone under 500 this last year.
Sure.
40-44. So it's not a great thing not a bragging point, but he's been more successful with them than any of the other guys that they've hired. And I think that
exactly
there wasn't that sort of argument given around the NFL for the other guys that they hired.
I think this is an FO year for the Browns. Just see what you got, and you got those 2 first-round draft picks in your pocket for next year if those quarterbacks don't pan out. Yeah. All right, Ken, you've given us a lot of your time. I'm going to go rapid fire with a few things here to try to get you out there because I know you got football and you got a bunch of stuff going on. So couple quick topics. WNBA, coming back to Cleveland. If you could name the franchise, what would you name it?
Is Rockers too easy, or is Rockers?
No, that's good.
Okay, because I kind of want to, because it's like, well, the last Rockers didn't draw. Okay, but I don't even know if it was given a chance, to be honest with you. I don't even know why we got a franchise in the first place if you're only going to give them a couple years. This is clearly an investment. It's like, well, just go back to the Rockers and see if the Rockers work out. I mean,
okay.
What are we going to call them? We can call them Lakers. Well, we already got Lakers.
How about the Indians?
You can call them. You go that way if you want to. That'd be something for Dan to do. I'll tell you that. You can call it. You're going to call them freighters. You're going to call them tugboats. I'm trying to think of something on the water. Like, what are you going to call? You can't call them all those things. So it's like, just call them the Rockers, and we'll have fun with it and move on.
Okay, I love it. All right, you do a bunch of top 5 lists on your social media. I'm going to ask you, instead of a Mount Rushmore of Cleveland sports, let's go your top 5 Cleveland athletes, living, dead, playing, not playing, whatever. Top 5 and it could be athletes, coaches, owners, whoever. Your top 5 Cleveland sports influencers, I guess.
Oh, of all time?
Of all time.
Living and dead. Okay, and if you're talking to major influence, then okay. I don't. Do I have to put them in order right now?
Nope. Well, just top 5 in any order you choose.
Okay. Okay. These are coaches too?
Yeah. Anyone that's has been involved with Cleveland sports.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. LeBron, Jim Brown, Paul Brown. Who am I missing? Jesse Owens. Would I put Bob Feller in there? Arguably the greatest pitcher ever. Do I put Larry Doby in there? See, now I'm getting. I feel I'm missing an easy one. Who am I missing? Am I missing an easy one here?
That's a pretty damn good list so far. Those top
Paul
4.
Brown they still use Paul Brown stuff in the NFL.
Right.
Jesse Owens, obviously the Olympics, that whole craziness that he stood up to.
Yep.
Jim Brown, arguably the greatest running back to do it. LeBron, arguably the greatest basketball player to ever do it. Maybe I'll just put Bob Feller in there.
I like it.
Yeah,
arguably a top pitcher of all time too in baseball. So why not? I like it.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna get somebody who's gonna. You forgot about this guy. I'm like,
well, I put you on the spot. I didn't prep you for that. That's a hard thing to do.
Crazy.
So I don't think your top 4 anybody can argue with. So maybe that 5th spot there can be some. But so we'll say your top 4, your Mount Rushmore +1 there.
Excellent.
Honorable mention.
Excellent.
All right, let's wrap it up with this. I have 15 names. I'm going to do a quick word association. You can use a word or a phrase. I'm going to throw out a name, and you give me a word or a phrase to describe these people.
All right.
To the best of your ability. Well, we already talked about this guy, but Paul Dolan.
Responsible.
Myles Garrett.
A word or a phrase?
A sentence, however you want to go with it.
Better than TJ Watt.
Love it. Jose Ramirez.
Icon.
All right, I'm going to put these 2 guys together. Andrew Barry, Paul D. Podesta.
Thought partners.
All right, outside of Cleveland sports, Scotty Scheffler.
Boring.
I love it.
I'm sorry.
Donovan Mitchell.
That guy got arrested and I'm bored by him. That's a terrible, terrible answer by me. No. I gave what I gave. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm telling you, we got a producer backstage. He's a big golfer. I asked him about Scotty Scheffler today. He said the same thing. Okay, wish he wasn't so damn boring.
Thank God. Obsessed. Donovan's obsessed.
I like it. Deshaun Watson.
Disappointing.
Caitlin Clark.
Well, I already use icon for Jose. Can I switch legend for Jose?
Yeah.
Because I think that she's changing the way we look at professional basketball, so she would be iconic.
Love it.
Okay, icon.
Okay. Ryan Day.
Ryan Day.
Keeping it in Ohio.
Just for men. Ain't no way that stuff. There's no way that beer's natural. I'm glad they've kind of made a joke out of it. I think. Because I used to do that with Coach K. I used to make everybody upset. I go, oh yeah, 70-year-old man, huh? That's natural hair. I profile a stressful job like that. Okay. And for whatever reason, because there's Duke fans in Northeast Ohio get cuss out tweets over it. I go, come on, guys, it's a game.
That's so good.
Who cares?
All right, 5 more. Evan Mobley.
Oh God, potential.
Jarrett Allen.
Odd man out.
One more, Cav. Darius Garland.
He has become my Waterloo.
Say that one again.
He has become my Waterloo because
Okay.
I've argued for him and argued for him and argued for him, and he's. I mean, for the right move, he because of his size, because he gets hurt a lot. He's probably out of here on the first thing smoking if they can get a deal going.
Okay. All right, 2 more. Stephen Vogt.
He's a good man and thorough.
And last one. I saved this one for last because
What?
George Kokinis.
Oh God, mystery! Woo! I ain't telling you guys a story. Ain't mine to tell.
Someday, I'm gonna find you, buy you a couple drinks. I want to hear that story off the air. All right. Well,
there's people who know it and then they tell it, and I'm going, you just don't say it. I mean, you can get sued if you say it on the air, brother. So to each your own. I know. Like, I'm telling the Kokina story. I go, okay, you better have a good lawyer.
I love it.
I'd sue your ass because there's been 1,000 different versions of that thing, and it just depends on which one you know.
So good. Mystery is perfect because I'm dying to know that story. So
it
we
is
will.
The screen at 9 of Cleveland media is the Kokina story because I'm telling you, there's been people who've put out different versions of it just to see who will tell what. I mean, it's taken on a life of its own.
So good. Well, Ken, I wanted to wrap up on that one. At least let's end on a little bit of a joke there. But you've given me more time than we asked for, so I greatly appreciate you taking your time. I know you recently had a procedure done. We're not going to talk about that. You got football coming up. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Your
helmet's on today.
So real quick for people that don't follow you, I'm sure everyone follows you on Twitter, but give us your Twitter handle.
At Ken Carman, Carman. I just always got used to saying spelling my last name because everybody spells my last name wrong.
But if you don't already, I know most of our viewers probably listen to you guys on 92.3 The Fan. You guys do a fantastic job. So have to give you two a shout out. 92.3 The Fan is a fantastic network, and you two are kind of the flag bearers of that. So appreciate you taking your time joining us, and want to wish you all the best. We'll listen to you tomorrow morning or whenever you're on next. And you guys have a great day. Good luck with the station. Good luck with the football team. And here's to one question I want to ask before we leave.
Yeah.
The next Cleveland franchise to win a championship will be
Cavs.
Cavs? Perfect.
Yeah, you got to say Cavs, right?
Let's raise that banner next year. Let's raise it next year.
Absolutely.
Well, Ken Carman, 92.3 The Fan. You can listen to him on the Browns calls. Are you on the the weekly? What's your role with the Browns?
We have the preview show on Wednesdays on the Browns Network on the University Hospitals Cleveland Browns Radio Network, and then on game day morning.
All right,
the Browns game day at 9 a.m. usually, except when they're in London, it'll be at like 5 a.m.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, Ken took us around the world of Cleveland sports. Listen to him on the Browns Network. Listen to him on 92.3 The Fan. Ken, have a great day. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe